You wrote one of my favorite papers called Infrared Light, Friend or Foe. Um,
Uh-huh.
and in that paper, you um, talk about this idea of preconditioning of the skin with infrared light as it would be present in the early AM light for to prepare it for UV exposure. Can you talk a little bit more about how that might work?
Well, I mean, that was a theory, not my theory, but a theory somebody came up with for evolutionary. Why have humans evolutionarily become responsive to red light? Um, I mean, it's certainly correct that you can use red light as a sunscreen. So if you're going to expose yourself to potentially damaging UV, sunbathing, what have you, you can use pre-exposure with red light as a sunscreen. So that definitely works. Now, whether that evolved as a protection, who can tell? Because I mean, the strength of the red light of the sun is pretty minimal. I mean, it's way less than you would use for that a red LED panel. I mean, it might work. I mean,
Right.
another interesting one of these crazy hypotheses was that how did humans evolve to get a big brain? Okay, and the answer was that they lost their hair. So there was an awful lot more of the body and the head absorbing light. And once that happened, that's over you know, hundreds of millions of years stimulated the brain to grow. Who can tell?
I like that idea. That I'm gonna use that. I think that's a hypothesis, but an interesting one nonetheless. Um, this the also the idea about infrared light preconditioning the skin makes a lot of sense evolutionarily as well. I was just wondering that there are places like using UV light for psoriasis and lots of use in tanning beds in northern latitude countries. Should infrared light be used in conjunction with UV lamps in these scenarios to help buffer the damage that might
Yeah,
occur?
I think that's perfectly sensible. So, it's definitely true that the vitamin D you generate by exposing your skin to ultraviolet is more effective than taking it as a supplement. I think that's been well established. So, if you're going to expose yourself to sunlight to generate vitamin D, it would make sense to use near infrared as a protection. Yeah, in addition to its established benefits on its own.